Imagine a digital asset entering a phase where institutional demand, shrinking available supply, regulatory clarity, and global liquidity shifts all collide at the same time. XRP appears to be approaching that environment, and understanding this setup is essential for anyone tracking long-term developments in the crypto market. Today's breakdown explores why multiple analysts believe XRP is positioned for a potentially transformative phase, how supply mechanics actually work, and what macro and institutional factors could create significant price movement under the right conditions. Hey guys, welcome back to Whiteboard Crypto Update. In today's video, we will talk about XRP. So be sure to stay focused, as you surely don't want to miss out on this. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on post notifications by hitting the bell so you never miss any of our uploads. Please remember, this is not a financial advice video. For years, large portions of the crypto community have argued that a digital asset can only rise if its market cap expands proportionally and if previous price history matches future potential. But the direction of the current market is very different from the earlier cycles, dominated mainly by hype. Previous booms were largely retail-driven, speculative, and influenced by emotional buying. Now the environment is shifting toward utility, liquidity, and institutional participation. This shift has changed the entire conversation around assets like XRP. Many comparisons are made with earlier explosive moves of other cryptocurrencies, not because their paths will be identical, but because they show how quickly capital can move when demand surges. Ethereum once jumped from a few dollars to hundreds in a matter of months. Solana experienced a similar type of acceleration. Those assets had no maximum supply and still managed to run rapidly once institutional money entered and liquidity tightened. XRP is structurally different because it has a defined maximum supply, and therefore available tokens on exchanges matter far more than total supply. A major factor shaping the XRP discussion is the concept of thin exchange float, the number of XRP tokens actually available for trading at any moment. While XRP's total supply is large, the amount sitting on public exchanges ready to be bought or sold is significantly smaller. Data from mid-2025 suggests that exchange reserves hover around roughly 3.1 billion XRP. Compared to the scale of anticipated institutional demand, this is considered a thin float, meaning only a fraction of the asset is easily accessible for large buyers. In traditional markets, thin float conditions often lead to faster price movements when demand spikes, because fewer tokens are available to absorb buying pressure. This is where institutional accumulation becomes relevant. Major firms acquiring large amounts of XRP through OTC channels gradually reduce liquid supply even further. Retail investors rarely see these transactions directly, but their long-term effect can lead to pronounced supply shortages. Analysts tracking on-chain flows argue that if exchange float keeps decreasing, any sudden influx of institutional demand, such as from ETFs, banks, or liquidity providers, could produce outsized price reactions simply due to scarcity. A topic frequently discussed around XRP is the possibility of speculative triple-digit valuations. While no one can predict exact prices or timelines, some analysts believe such scenarios become mathematically plausible only if extreme demand meets limited supply. Others argue that achieving such prices would require a unique combination of global liquidity shifts, institutional adoption, and macroeconomic catalysts. This is why price discussions attached to XRP usually emphasize conditions rather than guarantees. One of those conditions relates to the reverse carry trade, a concept dating back decades and linked to interest rate strategies involving the Japanese yen. The reverse carry trade has resurfaced in financial discussions because of global rate changes and tightening policies in recent years. Whenever the risk of such a reversal becomes elevated, markets can experience sudden volatility. In the past, similar concerns triggered large drops in the Japanese equity index and spiked volatility indexes globally. Some analysts believe that if a major reverse carry trade event were to occur alongside liquidity injections, rate cuts, and increased institutional participation, assets like XRP, which serve as fast settlement tools, could benefit from heightened demand. Again, this is not a guarantee, but rather a speculative scenario based on macro behavior. Institutional involvement in the crypto sector has become increasingly clear. Large financial organizations have begun treating digital assets as part of the broader macro landscape rather than isolated speculative tools. Recent statements from major banks describe crypto as an emerging macro-tradable category, showing a dramatic shift from earlier skepticism. Traditional financial leaders who once dismissed cryptocurrencies are now partnering with regulators and treasury officials to develop frameworks for digital asset usage. Institutions such as Franklin Templeton, Grayscale, and others have already moved into this space, creating rising expectations for future participation from giants like BlackRock and Fidelity. This institutional movement highlights the importance of regulatory clarity. Financial executives repeatedly state that clearer regulations are the primary requirement before deploying massive capital into digital assets. Legislation and clarity frameworks have been gaining momentum, and many believe that once a full regulatory structure is in place, liquidity from major banks and asset managers will enter the market far more aggressively. XRP holds a unique position in this discussion because it is one of the few digital assets with well-defined legal status in several jurisdictions. Macro conditions also contribute to this awareness. Several global developments, such as ending periods of quantitative tightening, anticipated interest rate cuts, improving employment data, increasing consumer liquidity through tax recalculations, and ongoing geopolitical negotiations, have all shaped expectations for more favorable financial conditions. Some analysts expect renewed liquidity to help fuel the next wave of capital entering the digital asset sector. Combined with a large number of potential crypto-related ETFs under review, this has created growing anticipation for a stronger institutional presence. Another major element in the XRP discussion is Basel III, a global banking regulatory framework that requires institutions to maintain high-quality liquid assets, HQLA, capable of withstanding extended stress conditions. Under traditional systems, these HQLAs are often slow and expensive to move across borders. XRP has been studied in various scenarios as a rapid, low-cost bridge asset that can support real-time liquidity. This does not guarantee adoption, but it does position XRP as a candidate for certain liquidity-related use cases. Banks associated with the Ripple ecosystem have explored these possibilities for years, with some major entities in Japan and Asia publicly integrating XRP-related solutions into broader financial strategies. Ripple's partnerships, particularly within Asia, have played a meaningful role in the network effect surrounding XRP. Entities such as SBI Holdings have maintained long-term collaborations with Ripple and continue working toward integrating digital finance into traditional systems. These initiatives aim to merge existing financial infrastructure with blockchain solutions that enhance speed, reduce cost, and improve cross-border efficiency. XRP, being the native asset for on-demand liquidity services, sits at the center of many of these experiments. The broader picture reveals a pattern. Institutions are preparing frameworks, regulators are developing clarity, macro conditions are shifting, and exchange float remains limited. While no outcome is guaranteed, the combination of these elements forms the basis for why many analysts believe XRP could experience significant demand in future cycles. The transition from retail-driven speculation to utility-driven adoption marks a major shift in the digital asset industry, and XRP is frequently positioned within discussions about real-world payment solutions and liquidity needs. Whether or not speculative high-value targets are reached depends entirely on future events, including institutional behavior, regulatory timelines, adoption rates, and macroeconomic forces. But what is clear is that XRP now sits in an environment shaped not by hype but by measurable data, liquidity models, and global financial trends. For those studying the evolution of the digital asset market, XRP represents a case study of how supply dynamics, institutional behavior, and utility narratives converge during times of major financial transformation. Well, guys, that's all we have for you today. What are your thoughts on XRP? Get involved and let us know in the comments down below. If you guys like this video, then be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. Thank you for watching.